You're listening to Travel Tales with Virgil.
Joan, the question I ask everybody is, if you take 4 deep breaths and think of your happy place anywhere in the world, where would that be and why?
Okay, it's going to be a bit of a weird answer because of the experience. And, you know, growing up in Boston and kind of being in a suburb of the city and then the suburb of the city in Braintree, we'd get to come home to Ireland every summer. That was kind of the deal in our family because my dad worked for the airlines. So coming to Ireland was a big thing. And then in particular, my favourite place, behind the Pinnacle Well down in Ballyvaughan, there's a little coast road in Ballyvaughan. I know the number of it, the R477. There's a well there called the Pinnacle Well. And if you go behind the well, you just keep climbing all the way up to the very, very top. It's a good little hike. And you sit on the rocks there and you're overlooking everything. It's genuinely the most spiritual feeling I've had in my life, where you feel like you're almost there. You feel like you can talk to people who've gone beyond and people who you miss. And it's an amazing experience. And I'll never forget it. And it's my favorite place in the world. Just at the top of the burn, really, overlooking Galway Bay and the Atlantic Ocean, and just, you feel there, man, you really do.
You're very welcome to a bonus episode, and you just heard the voice of Sean O'Neill, who is on the US election special, telling us about his happy place. The one question I asked every guest was to name their happy place, and I have a collection of them for you now. I challenge you to try and not smile listening to every beautiful answer to their happy place question. And that is what we need now, to smile when we think of happier times to come in 2021. We face great uncertainty, and they say the darkest hour is before the dawn. But what we do know for sure is that things will get better this year. We start off with Tara Lockwood-Grant, whose voice you will recognise straight away. Tara, everybody who listens to our podcast knows your voice. You're at the start and the end of every episode. But people are coming up to me wondering who this voice is.
Ooh.
So we were in college together, weren't we?
We sure were.
Back in DCU.
Yeah.
We know each other since then, and you're working RTE now, isn't that right?
Yeah, since we were only chiselers, age of 18, young'uns.
Exactly. And you know what? I felt very bad because you have asked me loads of questions, but I actually haven't asked you any. And there's one that we've been asking everybody. And I think it's only fair that I ask you Emer's happy place question.
Oh, I love that
it.
question. Great.
Have a little think. So if you close your eyes and take 4 deep breaths, allow yourself to think of your happy place from your travels. And where would that be and why?
Got it. Can I have 2?
Oh, of course.
Okay. They are more, I don't know if this is allowed, but they are more feelings in destinations, 2 separate feelings for 2 completely different destinations. Am I allowed to go with that?
Of course.
Okay. So the 2, the 2 feelings are, one is on the water. So it could be surfing. It has to be connecting to the water though. It could be surfing. It could be paddleboarding. It could be bodyboarding, but it has to be relatively warm in the water, great waves, great beach. So it could be, if the weather's good, it could be Inch in Kerry. It could be a gorgeous beach up in Donegal, near where my dad's from, in Pollen. It could be in the Maldives. It could be in Portugal. It's that feeling that you get when you're. The last time I had it was in Spain, and it was. I was standing on a paddleboard, and I looked down, and the water was so clear that it was almost. I got a rush because it was kind of scary as well, that you could see the floor, you could see the sea floor, and I was on a paddleboard, and it was just that excitement, that connection with nature. The feeling of the warm breeze on your face, the sound of the waves. I grew up beside the sea, so in Skerry. So to have that, I love it. I just feel at home. And I'm a sea swimmer all year round. So I just that connection to the water. But it's always nice when it's a bit warmer. And the second one is on the snow. So even saying it makes me smile. This is skiing in a very real way, where you're even at one stage, there's some parts, whether it's Italy, whether it's Austria, whether it's France, the places that I love the most, that feeling where I get that buzz, is where you're at a connection, where all you see are tops of mountains, where ski slopes and ski areas meet, and you are going between countries. That feeling where France and Italy or whatever, where they meet and come together, and Germany, and those feelings, though, that's the most natural buzzes that I adore, and it makes my soul lift, and it makes me feel the best place possible. So their feelings and the destinations help make them possible.
I love that. I really like the sound of that.
Mm-hmm. And we haven't, I don't think, has anybody asked you?
No, actually. Now you say it, nobody has.
Wow. Travel Tales with Fergal. We have to know. Where's yours? And I'm intrigued.
For abroad would definitely be with family. So it'd be on a family holiday with the 6 of us. And my favourite one was the Peloponnese Peninsula in Greece, which is the west coast. It's like the west coast of Ireland, but sunny. And it is like 2 hours drive to Kalamata, which is famous for its olives, on a motorway from Athens Airport. Then you go over these mountains into a region called the Mani, where the Spartans ended up. And you go over through these windy roads. And then you come over the other side and you see down these little villages dotting along the landscape. You end up at this place called Agios Nicholas, which is a little fishing village with the mountains all around it, and it's on the sea. And my happy place was every morning before breakfast, we would walk through the village to the end of the village, around the corner to the rocks. And it was this little old taverna. We had a little diving board and rocks, and we go for a swim there. While that was going on, there was an old woman in the taverna, and she would come out with warm bread and coffee and freshly squeezed orange juice. So by the time we came out of the water, that was ready, and have breakfast there. And that was definitely the memory that I go back to all the time when I think of a happy place.
The hairs on the back of my neck are standing up, because I remember seeing some pictures from you guys in Greece, and you gave me the wanderlust then, and now listening, knowing that it's a long time before we can, well, hopefully not too long, that we can go, but that's fabulous. I would love to go there. I'd love to see it. I'd nearly love to follow in your footsteps if you posted all the details that we could, us punters, could read and listen, and then just follow that. Actually, that's a good idea, isn't it? For you to have the notes.
Do you know what's funny? What you just got me to realize is that the logo for my podcast is the photo from the kids diving off that spot.
Yes.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, thank you. Love chatting to you about that. And thanks for bringing me on that journey. And yes, of course, my family, kids and other halves, and extended family, depending on where the locations are, that makes it. And the food and the few scoops, make it come together so beautifully.
Exactly.
I think with where we're at now, it's who you're with and who you're missing and who you want to be with again. I think we've all realized the important things. And then travel is just this wonderful bonus if you can share it with them and teach them all and pass on the information, which is what you've done for us with the podcast. Pass on your love and passion for travel. And I think it's contagious. You really have those daydream worthy destinations and goals to get there, and appreciate it when we can.
Exactly. The next guest is Catherine Murphy, who is the No.1 Ski journalist in Ireland. Catherine features in the first episode of season 2, coming soon this month. It is a ski special with lots of great interviews, including Catherine.
Well, there are two things. It's anywhere in the mountains. I remember years ago, I just arrived to Val d'Isere, and I remember looking out the window thinking, I'm home. This is where I want to be. Not necessarily Val d'Isere, just the mountains.
Yeah.
But in the summers, I spend a lot of time in a tiny Catalan village in the northeast of Spain. It's an outdoorsy place. It's a beautiful area, kind of unknown to most Irish people. So it's between Catalonia and Aragon. It has gorgeous lakes. It's a big outdoors place. I love hiking there. And it's just a place I fell in love with actually 30 years ago. And I go there every year. And that is my escape.
And is it in the mountains or is it near the sea?
It's the pre-Pyrenees, Fergal. So it's not even real mountains. It's what it is really is a hang gliding and paragliding site. I don't fly. A lot of my friends did and still do, and that's what brought me there in the first place. So it's a ridge. It's pre-Pyrenees. So it's a couple of hours from Andorra. So. Yeah.
I have a friend who was in college with me, two friends who got married. They met in college, but one of them is from around that area in, the Pyrenees. And we went out there for a wedding out there and it was just amazing. Absolutely loved it around there. And the walking.
It's just ancient land. Where I stay was a very important medieval centre of the valley. It's a valley, so it's just full of history. The Moors got up as far as there and you can feel it. I can feel it when I'm there, and I absolutely love it. I love ancient places and hidden places. So.
You're right. I don't know why, but it does. Well, one reason I would say maybe why it feels ancient to me, and that's my memory of it, was I remember ordering, like, if you ordered a steak, you literally got a steak. That was it. Just a steak.
Oh, yeah. They don't do the meat, veg, and potatoes. It's a completely different way. Yeah. And the other ancient thing is the prices. The prices seem like they're from 20 or 30 years ago compared to Ireland, which helps.
Oh, totally. Our next three guests are Mark O'Halloran, Dawn Hindle in Ibiza, and Jerry Fish. Where is your happy place to?
Well, there's the beaches, Playa del Este outside of Havana. Just miles of unspoilt beachfront with this pale blue sea. Like, it's just gorgeous.
Palm trees,
no hotels. People come out from the city in buses and swim there during the day. And it's just phenomenal. I love it.
Brilliant.
That happy place would 100% be on the beach, listening to the waves in Ibiza. So I'm quite lucky. I think I've found and managed to live in my happy place.
Yes, exactly.
I actually do this in the shower anyway. It's kind of when I grew up in a lot of ghettos and a lot of kind of heavily populated areas like Brixton, South London, and then over to Dublin. And when I first started traveling, I went off to the Sinai Desert. I went off to the desert, and there was a beach called Taba, and it was the first beach I ever slept on. And I just remember in the sleeping bag looking at the stars, going, are you allowed to do this? Is what that people had just let me. Am I allowed to do this? I couldn't believe that you could actually live with nothing. That the stars as a blanket was enough. And I think I never recovered. It was definitely I was a beach bum from then on in. So living as a beach bum has definitely been my happiest travel memory for sure. And anybody in my household will tell you that.
Next up, we have Philip O'Connor, an Irish expat living in Stockholm, Sweden.
I think this is the most difficult question that you put to me. And I think when I do that, the place doesn't matter. I'll tell you where the place is. It's around a table. That table can be absolutely anywhere, and it's with my family, because in chasing my own dreams and in being essentially selfish and doing what I've done, Fergal, I've had, my family has had to sacrifice a lot to allow me to go there. Now, sure, I make money, but I could make money driving a bus. That's not the thing. They've allowed me to do this. And the absolute best thing is when my wife and myself and my two children can sit around the table, and when, this, Christmas dinner is brilliant. We celebrated Christmas in our own house for the first time about 2 or 3 years ago. I remember thinking, I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to do anything today. I can just be, and I could just be with them. And that was probably the happiest moment of my life. And it was just one of those 2 or 3 hours over that day was just fantastic. So that's where it is. Whether that happens to be in Dublin, that'll be one of the places. Stockholm will be another. Norway, and that little house that we bought now. But to be honest, all of these places, because the one thing that I think of now as I get older, that every place I leave, like I left Los Angeles and I left Las Vegas in January, I might never see them again. I might never see New York again. I might never see Seoul or Pyeongchang. I might never see Melbourne at all, So sometime when I leave these places now, as life goes on, it's going to be the last time I ever see any of it. But I can always cling to that hope that somewhere there'll be a table and there'll be 4 people sitting around it that I love and that I want to be with, and that I would travel the whole world to be with at certain times. So that is the happy place for me. Where you want to put that table, that's up to you, my friend.
Holly Rubenstein is a travel writer and podcaster from the UK, and I have to say I like the sound of her happy place right now.
Oh, such a good question, I should say.
Thank you.
I often try and do this actually. When I'm trying to meditate, I often picture a place. I've been told that is what one should do. I have to admit, it isn't the same place each time. It does change. Each time for sure. Right now though, when I'm freezing, wearing like 3 layers and the heating isn't heating up my flat and it's bleak and getting dark at 4 o'clock, I am picturing the Maldives. I was there earlier this year, lucky to get there just before everything kicked off, and I'm picturing sitting on in an overwater villa overlooking the endless Indian Ocean, turquoise, sparkling, clear water, the odd dolphin jumping past, the sun setting right beyond this infinite horizon. And I couldn't think of anywhere more relaxing and zen in my head right now.
That sounds beautiful. You went there for your honeymoon, didn't you? Is that right?
I did. Yeah, we were so lucky to be able to go there just in time. We didn't have any clue what was going on, aside from people that were on the plane where, there were a few people who were wearing masks, and we thought, oh, that's being a bit cautious. Little did we know. So yeah, we were very lucky. And for a honeymoon destination, I know, do you know what? I have to be honest, I never really thought that the Maldives was for me. I didn't think that I would want to go somewhere where it was really kind of about like lounging around and doing not that much else. I'm more active, and we had a crazy year the year before, and we just thought, no, we actually just want to relax.
Of course.
And it was wonderful. It is everything you hope it will be. And I was just blown away by the snorkeling and the fish.
Do you know what's funny is I can't remember who it was, but you were talking to somebody and they kind of trashed. They just
Tony Wheeler.
I sensed you.
Tony Wheeler. Yeah, he said it's a place he'd never go back to.
Yeah.
I think that Tony is a different kind of traveler to me. He is intrepid to the core, whereas I'm very happy to like indulge in a bit of luxury and pampering if it's being offered to me.
Of course. Paula Keneally is a travel editor with the Irish Independent, and I have to say his happy place really conjures up the image of a perfect summer's day with family.
Okay, so rather than a place, what comes to mind for me is a sense of togetherness. A lot of the travel that I do is on my own, and I'm exploring by myself and moving at my own pace. But what this year has brought home to me that I'm missing is just that sense of being together on a trip, not having to work with family, with grandparents, sharing a moment, catching up on missed occasions, stupid birthday celebrations over Zoom calls, great and all as they were, they're not a replacement for the real thing. I'm brought back to, and I wrote about this recently, a vineyard in Sicily, where we all sat down, 6 of us, no great plan. We're served up fresh pasta. I remember the pasta alla Norma as well, caponata, wine that was roughly €7 a bottle, hearing Italian spoken around us, just watching the family tick over. I remember my son was 6 and his tooth came out, and it was nothing earth-shattering. It was just an afternoon with the sun on our backs and fresh food, Italian accents, and then off afterwards for a nap. and a swim. And
Gorgeous.
It's just simplicity and togetherness. That's what I miss, what I want.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? Being with family, sharing. I love that. The next two guests picked places very close to where they were actually born, which really, when you think about it, isn't surprising because they are both so associated with Clare, Anthony Daly and Keith Wood.
It'd be probably, it's gone now. It's still a pub. It's the old Nevins in Clarecastle, I think, when Mrs. Nevin was alive. We used to just go there, and she was like a second mother to us all, and she'd look after us, and that was a great place to be. That was a traditional spot to go the day after winning something, and we were lucky enough to win a few championships while I was playing, and that was the days of magic we had there. The Mondays, they weren't supposed to be Mondays. I think that was great. So I suppose I'd have a million things I could think of. Going up collecting cups, I suppose, and Murty's gang winning derbies and loads of stuff. But I think that was always a kind of a thing that it was achieved, or else even if we lost, we were there together, and there was a sense of great unity in that. And not being drunk or anything, just maybe having your first pint or two and meeting the lads and just being there together. I think there was a great sense of peace about that somehow. That would be for me. It's
right. I would go to, we've mentioned it twice, I would go to the very top of Ballycuggaran, which is in the little hills just beside us in Killaloe. There's a couple of different little routes and different little hills, but there's a quiet space that you can go there, and you're actually looking all the way up towards Galway, and you see the whole of Lough Derg. You see the full size of Lough Derg. I think that's
sports broadcaster Con Murphy's love of travel really shone through in his episode, and he gave us not one but two great happy places.
I think the two places I would pick, if I'm closing my eyes, just imagining absolute kind of tranquility and beauty. Puerto Vallarta in Mexico, there's a hotel we stayed in which was beside the beach, beside the sea, and it's in a kind of a circular bay. And down first thing in the morning, like maybe 8:30 in the morning, just the sun is coming up. The water in the pool is absolutely still. The seawater, which is just over the edge of the pool, absolutely still. The palm trees kind of silhouetted with the sun coming up, and just lying down there, absolute heaven. I mean, I can only describe it as heaven. At that time of the day, there's nobody else down by the pool. I love early mornings anyway for things like sunrises and that. And I can picture that in my mind now. And they used to play this very low-key kind of, I was going to say chill out music, but it's almost like just background music, just very low, not intrusive, but just adding to the atmosphere. That was, I mean, Puerto Vallarta in Mexico is somewhere I'd recommend. We've been 3 times now at this point. Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton shot a movie there, Night at the Iguana, and they fell in love with the place so much that they bought a house. They actually bought 2 houses, because when they used to have a row, he'd go to the other house across the road. But it is beautiful place, Puerto Vallarta.
It's Rick Steen's favourite place too. You know that?
Is it?
Yeah.
That's interesting. And he's a well-travelled man now, I can tell you. So that says something. That's very interesting. We only went there. We were actually in LA, and it was February. And the weather was bad. And we looked at the weather forecast, and the next 3 days it was going to be grey and rainy and a bit cold. And I just said to Lorraine, I don't want to stay around here for 3 days in the rain. You know, you can't even go for a walk. So we literally went out to the airport at LAX, and we went into the building and went up to the guy and said, where can we go that's warm and sunny at the moment? And he said, well, I've had 3 honeymoons in Puerto Vallarta and I love it. So we said, okay, we'll give it a go. And it was only a couple of hours flight from LA. Obviously from Ireland, it's a much longer journey. But it's that picture I have in my mind of that flat, calm water, the sun coming up, the trees, everything. That was heavenly. And the other one, if I could pick two, would be Bali. We went there about 4 or 5 years ago now, and again, just that early morning feeling of, you know, tranquility, total calm, beautiful beach beside the pool, palm trees, gorgeous place, just beautiful temperature. I think we went there in August, and it was a lovely time of the year to go, weather-wise. And Bali, of all the places we've been, I would say, you know, the people were off the scale. They were so nice. It was
spiritual, aren't they? You know?
Oh, gorgeous people. Absolutely. Well, actually, the only thing I would say is once you get past the airport where everybody's trying to get you into their taxi and there's a bit of hustling going on at the airport, I think. Beyond that, in the hotel, on the streets, just everybody was so nice. That's another bit of heaven on earth, I think, you know, and not easy to get to, quite, you know, it's an expensive trip, but if anybody has the opportunity to go there, I'd so recommend it. Just absolutely.
Did you go to Ubud when you were there?
We did, yeah. The monkeys actually robbed our lunch. We were walking back to the car. It was one of these ones where, that's the other thing about Bali. I think everything is very, very reasonable once you're there. You know, it's very cheap. So we got a guy to drive us around for the day, and you know, it wasn't expensive at all. Lovely guy, real nice, spoke good English, and we were, having gone in and seen all the monkeys in the habitat and stuff, we were walking back to the car with just some stuff for the driver, some sandwiches and, you know, a bottle of water and whatever. And as we were walking back to the car, the monkeys literally came out of the trees and grabbed the plastic bag and scarpered. But I mean, speaking of spiritual, I mean, what an amazing place Ubud is, and the
rice paddy fields and
stuff. And we went to the place where they make that coffee from the beans that those animals eat and then poop out. Which, by the way, when you're in Las Vegas, a cup of that coffee costs $80. But in Bali, it's $5. So if you're going to eat the coffee that the beans have been pooped out by the animal,
what does it taste like? I've never had that.
It was very nice, beautiful. Actually, it was lovely. Yeah, and they showed us the process. So the outside of the bean is taken off before the inside is baked and everything. So you're not getting any additional flavors to your coffee apart from the bean. But God, I remember sitting again there having coffee, and you know, you have the layered landscape around you, beautiful mountains and stuff, and thinking this is as close to heaven on earth as you're going to find. I mean, it's just absolutely gorgeous, you know.
Barcelona-based Richard Fitzpatrick really showed his journalistic mind in action when he painted a beautiful picture of his happy place.
There's one place I've been that has always stayed with me, and that was Black Rock Desert in Nevada. I went to the Burning Man Festival a couple of times in the 90s, and it's still going, although it wasn't held this year. But it's this festival, an art festival, basically. It originated in San Francisco, and they moved out to the desert in 1990, and it's held every Labor Day weekend, the first weekend in September. And when I was going there, like, there was about 6,000 or 8,000 people. I think it's up to about 75,000 people go to it now. But they set up a temporary city in the desert, and they construct all these art installations in the desert. Some of them will be, they'll be working on them maybe in the city during the year, or they'll go out to the desert in the summer and work on them for a couple of months or a few weeks to build these huge art installations. And then everybody arrives. The festival goes for about 8 or 10 days, and there's no, the economy is a barter economy. You can't buy anything there. You have to bring your own water and your own food supplies, and it's pretty inhospitable environment as well, because you can get sandstorms and the temperatures drop really low at night time, so it's baking hot during the day, but at night time it can be really cold. And these art installations would just blow your mind. Extraordinary kind of artwork, like say they would reconstruct a Hollywood Western movie set, and so you'd walk down the street and it was like you're in the middle of High Noon, the film High Noon or something. Or they'd have like a giant woman, like a 30-40 foot woman, and there'd be a shower spraying from between her legs, so people would be having their shower there in the morning, or people on stilts walking around, or art cars. And at night time then the city comes alive, like you'll have an opera. I remember seeing an opera at 2 or 3 in the morning, 200 people opera, just out of this world. And there's an amazing just camaraderie and kind of community spirit there, because everybody's in it together. And it then concludes on the second last night. They burn the man. They have this kind of like Nuremberg rally procession through the city, and they come to the big man, who's like 40 or 70 foot high man, and there's lots of bales of hay under the stand which he's constructed on. And then everybody starts chanting "Burn the man," and they burn the man. It's a kind of ritual, and it has at its roots, it's kind of a pagan festival, I guess. But then after that, the whole city is torched. They burn all the art installations. This is work people have put in, months of work into it, and everybody's in, fancy dress costume or whatever. And so the whole place is torched. And then at the end of the festival, everybody clears up their own debris, and the philosophy or the mantra is "leave no trace." So like people stay on there for a couple of weeks after the festival to ensure that the playa, the desert, is returned to its original condition. So I haven't been to that place, that festival, since. I'd love to go back there. It's things get difficult and costly when you have kids and stuff, but my friends were always threatening to go back there. But I've never felt as moved, and I'd always struggled to explain it to people, the atmosphere there. It's such a life-affirming experience to take yourself out of the normal rush of kind of life and live, and it shows the possibilities for communities, that kind of that community spirit that's engendered, maybe because it's only temporary, it's possible, but it's an unbelievable atmosphere, and I'd encourage anybody to go to it. So that kind of, I'd say that has stayed with me, those experiences there. So I would say Burning Man, yeah.
Definitely, that sounds very. I have a friend who lives in America that has gone to it, and he's been putting up stuff on Facebook, longing about, missing it. So it's definitely on my bucket list, I have to say. That is lovely.
Yeah, I couldn't recommend it enough.
Our very first guest was adventurer Damien Brown, and his special place was actually in Ireland. And it actually got me thinking what I always say, that travels around the world get you appreciate Ireland even more. Particularly in the last year, I think a lot of people have realised just how beautiful our country is and how much it has to offer.
So I presume we're talking about travel experiences here, right?
Yeah. Some people have actually picked stuff at home, but...
Okay, sorry.
The original plan was travel. Just a few people have mentioned things at home, but the original plan was travel. And that got me thinking since too. When I started doing interviews with people, all of a sudden I realized my current happy place is down by the River Suir every day walking. That's what inspired me. This podcast was actually walking on the River Suir, surrounded by the mountains, listening to travel podcasts. And my original plan was Greece. And then I went, actually, it's the Suir, 1 mile from my house.
So I won't be going too far either. A little bit of a drive from Galway there's a beach called Glashlan. It's in northern Connemara, not far from Killary, and I just adore the place. And that on a deserted winter day would be my happy place, with maybe one or two souls hanging around, walking the dog or wrapped up. I love the walk. It's overlooked by Muil Ray, which is the highest mountain in Connacht. It's actually on the Mayo side of Killary, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful setting. The walk and then a dip in the ocean. The beach and the water is it's kind of like a little cove, and the water is just crystal clear, spectacular. Even on a cold January or February day, it's even better in my opinion. For me, I enjoy it more. So yeah, I think that would be it.
I actually got married. That's beside Renville, isn't it?
Not far at all.
I got married in Renville, and my wife swam on the morning of the wedding there, and then the day after, myself and Emer went scuba diving off the beach, and it was just magical.
It's really a special part of the world, I think, northern Connemara. Some of the beaches up there, and the villages and the towns and the people and the mountains and the scenery. I could talk all day about the bends and climbing up there, or the Mam Turks and the Aina Valley. And now I have roots there. My mum is from that part of the world, so we visited obviously regularly out to Letterfrack in northern Connemara when we were young. And any chance I get, I'm gone out there swimming in one of the beaches, be it Glashlan or Renville or Ballyconneely or wherever.
And on the other side, my Emer's sister has a house beside White Strand, which is on the other side. And
I know White Strand well. It's wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so that if I pick, but around that area, around Killary, it's just magical on both sides.
Both sides, yeah, absolutely. Actually, if people ever get a chance to climb Muil Ray, you will get some of the best views in Ireland from the top if you get it on a fine day. So you got White Strand, you got Silver Strand, you can see across the Glashlan, you can see the bends, you can see the Aina Valley, you can see the Mam Turks. You can also, if you turn to your kind of northeast, you can actually see Crowpatrick. You can see out to Clare Island. It's just absolutely stunning up there. It's just beautiful, and it's a nice climb as well, especially if you go from the Duloc side, not far from Delphi Adventure Centre there. And it's a nice hard climb, and it's a great day, and it's just a stunning kind of view of all these beautiful parts of the West Coast.
And thanks, that's a lovely way to finish, because we started talking about adventures and little beaches in Ireland when you were young with your family. So that's a lovely way to finish, because even though we talk about travel adventures around the world, we probably have one of the most beautiful countries in the world. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I've been to quite a few corners of the world, and the west of Ireland on a fine day rivals them all. It's stunning place.
I really hope you enjoyed those happy places as much as I did from season 1. And you have to admit, you were smiling through that whole episode, I bet. I have some great episodes already recorded for season 2. Our first one will be a ski special, and that will come out very soon in January. Happy New Year. Stay positive. Stay safe. I would ask if you could please subscribe to Apple Podcast so a new episode will appear in your library every week. I would also really appreciate if you could leave a rating and a review, as it helps others to discover this podcast. To find out who's on every Tuesday, please follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Travel Tales with Fergal. Stay safe and keep dreaming of future travels.
Travel Tales with Fergal.